Good evening. It is 7:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Denville Township Board of Education is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Daily Record and/or the Star Ledger of Morris County, has been delivered to the Township Clerk, and has been posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office at each of the buildings in the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Here.
Mrs. Wagner,
Here.
Mr. Cass,
Here.
Mr. Kim,
Here.
Dr. Aruna Datasan,
Here.
Dr. Moore,
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here. And we do not have a need for executive session, so I ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and at our future meetings, we have a few special presentations coming up. None this evening, but October 10th, we'll have the 2021-2022 District HIB, that's Harassment, Intimidation, Bullying, Self-Grading presentation. October 24th, we look forward to hearing from Dr. Cullis on our 2021-2022 testing data. And then November 14th, 18th, and December 12th, as a reminder, our five-year strategic planning. So. Move on to superintendent's comments, please. Dr. Forte.
Thank you. Just received back, I was at the commissioner's convocation today. It was very positive and uplifting, and it was in person at Kane University. Coincidentally, we received our NJ CUSAC scores today, and we passed with a 95.6% overall. You need 80% to pass. Our INP was 89%, fiscal was 100%, governance 94%, operations 98%, and personnel 97%. The Convocation 2022, thank you for our board members who were in attendance. I thought it was a great day for everybody. I received a lot of positive feedback, and I was just happy to get the school year started in the back to the normal way we had been for a while. Our opening days seemed very, they worked out great. There was really no issues. The first drop off in the morning in the rain too went great. It really felt like people just wanted to get back to normal. That was it was really nice to see. I know Dr. Cullis was around as well, and we saw so many good things already in the schools, and it was just great to be back in the normal way. Our foundation of Denville, the Denville Education Foundation movie night is this Friday. There's information on our website about that. Our Board of Education Candidate Forum will be October 6th at 7 p.m. and that'll be in the Riverview All-Purpose Room. Again, the Board of Ed Candidates Forum, which is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Mountain Lakes, as well as the Citizen newspaper, will be held on October 6th at 7 p.m. in the Riverview All-Purpose Room. Our HIB website on the district website has been updated with the new policies and procedures per the New Jersey Department of Ed. It was sent out in the Friday folder. It will be going out again in this Friday folder. Take a chance to look at it. It has a lot of information and a new form for reporting HIB for staff members as well as for the public. That's the end of the superintendent comments.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. Move on to assistant superintendent's comments. Dr. Cullis.
Thank you. Just so everyone is aware, our Start Strong, which is the pre-testing state assessment, is coming on September 20th through 23rd for grades 3, 4, and 5. And September 26th and 27th for grades 6, 7, and 8. We will have our official testing calendar available by the end of this week. The link will go out in the Friday folder and will also be on our website. And that will have the information and the dates for our NJSLA spring assessments, as well as our COGADs for 2nd and 5th grade. This Friday, our NJSLA reports for spring 2022 will be mailed home, so please look for those. 5th and 8th grade will have math, ELA, and science. The other grades 3, 4, 6, and 7 will just have math and ELA. So please look for those. And this concludes the Assistant Superintendent's report.
I put one other thing in there, if you don't mind taking a look at it. Sure. Do you want to talk about the book that one of our students wrote? Remember that? That was a book of poetry. Yeah.
Don't have it.
So we received an email from a parent whose child got their first book of poetry published, and I just wanted to share that with the board. It was she was inspired by her English and art teachers in grades 5 through 7, where each class had a classroom selection to write poetry, and the parent felt that without their support, it wouldn't have been possible. And in your packet, if you want to look at it on the superintendent's comments, there's a link to the book on Amazon. So I thought it was a pretty cool thing to update.
Thank you, Dr. Collis and Dr. Forte. Excellent. That is great news. Move on to business administrator comments. Mrs. Gorowski.
We have been monitoring the Division of Pension website in reference to the health benefits rate increases for next year. They still do not have any update. However, they are meeting September 29th, at which point we are estimating that they will have a rate for next year. And right now it's expected to be high, about 15 to 16%. And project update, Lakeview electrical projects, some of the materials and the circuit breakers are estimated to be here in 47 weeks. There is a lead weight on these type of equipments. The Valley View bathroom project on tonight's agenda, we have a second quote that we received today on the addendum, which we are recommending is about $50,000+ less than the first quote that we received from a previous vendor. They're both of them are co-op vendors, and we feel better about the second quote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gorowski. And we're going to move on to open public discussion. We'll open up our first comment section at 7:37 p.m. Seeing no one in the chambers, I'm going to withhold from reading the entire statement. We'll wait a minute and see if anybody pops in, and then we'll move on. Seeing no one in the chambers from the public, I'm going to close our first public comment section at 7:38 p.m. and move on to our agenda. Mr. Capello, would you mind moving us through old business?
Absolutely. If there are no objections, I would like to move items A, B, and C. A are the board reports from August 2022, Treasurer of School Monies and Board Secretary. B are education reports, including the attached remote instruction plan for the 22-23 school year per NJDOE. And finally, our minutes, a work, regular session, and executive session meeting from August 15th.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Capello and Mr. Cass. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
I'd like to abstain from the minutes of August 15th, 2022, and yes to the rest.
thank you. Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes. And move on to new business. Mrs. Wagner, would you mind moving us through personnel, please?
Certainly, if there are no objections under personnel, I would like to move items 1 through 7, noting under A, MM on the addendum. Item 1 is a list of new hires, resignations, retirements, leaves, extra pay, and adjustments. Item 2 and 2 through 6 are a mix of leaves, as well as the approval of Mrs. Costanza as the website accessibility coordinator, and the approval of the mentor-mentee relationships for this school year.
I'll second.
Thank you. And we have one just slight change, right? Damaris, do you want to read that out?
Yes, one slight change on letter G and H. Those amount, both of them should be $82.90.
Mrs. Wagner and Mr. Cass, are you okay with that friendly amendment? Yeah,
Yes.
so it's items 1G should read 8290 per period. And then 1H will read the same, $82.90 per period.
I'm okay with the change.
As am I.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
I have one other change. On 6A, that we did receive today notification that that teacher will no longer need a mentor. She's completed enough weeks in her last district.
Got it. So we will strike
should
out
strike it.
one or 6A and keep the rest of 6 there. Are you okay with that, Mrs. Wagner and Mr. Cass?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I just wanted to note, if I may, there are, I believe, 3 staff members who are moving across the guide under G, G, H, H, and I. We have Disha Patel, Marlene Delargy, and Emily Protaskowitz. So congratulations to them.
Thank you for pointing that out. And yes, congratulations to all 3 of them. Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Can you just remind me when we moved that, did we move 7 also, or did you leave that out since there's nothing in there? Just wanted to. You're good, Damaris? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes. And back to Mr. Capello for instruction and program, please.
Sure. If there are no objections under instruction and program, I would like to move items 1 through 7 from your agenda, calling out on the addendum the items. They have to be renumbered. They should be 8 and 9 on your yellow addendum sheet. And one other correction on item number 4. I believe there's an S at the end of Mr. Kim's first name.
Thank you.
If I may,
Do we have hold on, just real quick. So do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. Go ahead, Mr. Kim, please.
yeah, if we could just revise my name to include the word one in front of it. So in case I get pulled over and they want so,
Mr. Capello, Mr. Wagner, are you good with that?
Yes.
Yes, I'm okay.
not that I would, of course, never, never. No.
I did have a quick question on number 7. And glad to see that we have a few of our staff members going, but just from a coverage perspective for the school, is that a time when we don't have school or?
We do have school, and the central office staff will cover, that's including me and Dr. Cullis and Mrs. Johnson will cover the schools when the principals are out.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to double check, and I'm glad that we have so many staff members that are going to some of these conventions, and I'm glad we're back into the mode of trying to improve our staff and our people and develop. So it's great. Any other questions? I would just remind board members as you're voting on this to take into account the numbers or the items which you may or may not want to abstain on. So, and with that, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes on all except number 3. I'll abstain.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
As abstaining on number 4, yes to the rest.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes, 12.
Dr. Moore,
Yes, with an abstention on number 5.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, with, I will abstain on number 2, but yes to everything else. All right, let's move on to policy revisions. Mr. Kim, would you mind moving us through policy revisions?
Sure, I'd be happy to. If there are no objections, I motion that we approve letter C, policy revisions, which includes the second reading of adoption of 10 policies and regulations that are found listed in the agenda, and also for the last 2, which will be first reading.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. Mr. Kim, any questions, comments?
I'll also make note that the first 2 are to abolish these policies and regulations.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, and then for finance, we'll kick it back over to Mr. Kim if you're able to, sir.
Sure, not a problem. If there are no objections, I motion that we approve tonight Section D, Finance, numbers 1 through 10, or let me just check. Yeah, numbers 1 through 10, as found on the agenda. I would like to call to the board's attention that number 2, we are approving a revised meeting calendar for 2022, as well as the acceptance of the grant of $134,899.04 from the FEMA application that Damaris was able to get approval for. We're accepting donations of 12 boxes of school supplies from Denville Social Services, as found in number 6. Number 5 is a donation of $6,500 as well from Denville Social Services to help defray the cost of free lunches for the students in the 2022-2023 school year. Number 7, to accept donations for the gift cards that were handed out, I guess, at the staff convocation. So thank you to Summit of Maine Deli, Blue Moon, Mex Express, Il Torrente, Starbucks, and from Randy Dietrich, as well as the approval of the acceptance of a student's out of non-resident middle school student tuition contract as found in number 8, as well as to pay for out of district placement for numbers 9 and 10.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Cass, any questions, comments?
Damaris, if I may, we're approving number 2, the revised meeting calendar. I missed the last meeting, so I'm not sure how we revised it. Could you just explain that real quick?
Absolutely. We are including the convocation meetings in the calendar. The original calendar did not have the November and December convocation meetings.
The strategic
And time.
plan.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
strategic planning.
And we're not changing the location. It's still going to be here, correct?
So the location's changing to Riverview and the time is changing. The board meeting will be 6:30 to 7:30. Those 3 days, it's November 14 and 28, as well as December 12. So the meeting will be held at Riverview in the all-purpose room from 6:30 to 7:30. And then the strategic planning session, which will continue as a board meeting, will start at 7:30 and end at 9 on those 3 days.
Thank you for clarifying. I do now see it highlighted in yellow, so thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, and operations, Mr. Cass, would you mind moving us through, please?
Be happy to. Under operations, item number 1 is for the board to approve retroactively the parent transportation contract for student 203-03732 for the 2022-2023 school year at a cost of $2,700. And we have an addendum under building and grounds that the board approve a contract with JMTK LLC Rand Plumbing of Hunterdon County, approved co-op HCESC-SER-20C to provide contract services for the Valley View School bathroom project in the amount of $73,746.30.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass and Mr. Kim. Any questions, comments?
I think you mentioned that in your comments, but it's almost like a $50,000 savings with that second quote, correct?
That is correct. $54,000 savings on the second quote.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Dr. Arunadatasan,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, and we'll move on to go to the cause. Committee reports, correspondence, discussion items. I'll run through the discussion items first. Board meeting highlights. Dr. Forte, did you have any that you had put together?
Went so quick, I couldn't catch up.
Various donations.
testing.
Donations are probably
Yeah.
one, yeah.
The donations and the testing presentation coming up.
Yep. Grant for the FEMA grant.
Maybe our QSAC results?
Great. Sounds good.
Got it.
All right, perfect. October Board of Ed candidate forum at Riverview. I know that Dr. Forte mentioned it, and I know Mr. Capello has been helping out with that. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
Just that there is a flyer with a link to the public so that they can submit questions. I just forwarded that all to you. We received that from the league today. So please distribute that on social media to your friends and neighbors, however you see fit. Hopefully we'll get a lot of good questions and it'll be well received.
We posted it today on social media and it was put in the TAP. So I sent that out and it'll be on our website. It'll be in the Friday folder, things like that. The meeting, it will be on the 6th. Like we said, board members are okay to attend. More than 3 is okay to attend. It would be a good idea not to sit together that day. That was our advice from our attorney and from school boards, but it would be okay for you to be there. Just, it's not a day to have a discussion about the operations of the school. Other than that, people can be there.
Thank you, Mr. Capello and Dr. Forte. Appreciate your work on getting that set up, and I think that'll be valuable, hopefully, to the public.
Can I just ask, are all the candidates attending? Do you know?
Last I heard, 4 out of 5 had responded yes, and Teresa from the league was going to try to round up the last person.
It will be broadcast live on their YouTube channel, so I don't know if we plan on posting that later. I guess if it's on there, it's kind of hard, right?
I would repost theirs, but I wasn't planning on recording it as well.
Yep.
We'll have
That's
AV
fine.
support there. We'll have ACB support, and we'll make sure that the technology is okay, but we weren't going to also post it unless you guys think we should.
I don't see any need to. I think if we post a link, yeah. And the link is posted with, there's several different links within the document. There's a link to submit like questions you'd like to have asked. There's a link, keep me honest here, there's one more on there. There's the link for the YouTube.
It's to the video. Yeah,
To the video, is that the
to
only thing?
YouTube.
Okay.
I
And then
think
there's a link
just-
to their website. Too.
Yeah, but the live stream.
Okay, the live
and-
stream, yep, and the
yeah,
questions. Got it.
are
So
the
they're
big
both
ones.
on there. So.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to check that link yet, but I'm assuming that along with the questions, the person IDs themselves. And in case anybody's worried about me RSVPing,
So
I am one of the 4.
The public is putting in their name, the town they live in, their email address, the question. Well, actually, they can ask up to 2 questions on the form.
I just clicked on the link that's on the form. Okay, forgive me. I saw Mountain Lakes, so I wasn't sure if I was
So
in the
it-
right one. Yeah.
It's
It's
the,
the
yeah.
Mountain Lakes League of Women Voters is the organization.
And then final thing in discussion items, and then we'll open it up to any other comments or questions, is remote public participation for board meetings. I know we were going to run that through committees. Is that correct?
Yes, we talked about it through both committees, and we're now ready to have a conversation about it in public if that's the time that everybody would like to. And then from there, we'll find out the legality of anything we want to do.
Anybody want to pipe in?
We can start.
Yeah.
I mean, IMP can start. I mean, I think between the two committees, yeah. So in IMP, we had obviously that discussion. I think the main consensus was, if possible, for transparency's sake and for inclusion, we'd like to see if we can find a way to allow the public to participate virtually, but subject to some requirements. Somebody would have to be on camera. They'd have to identify themselves, and they would have to read their questions in their own voice. They would be subject to all the rest of the time limits and the things we have now in the chambers. And we felt pretty strongly that their statement should be recorded. In other words, you should be able to see their face, hear what they're saying. That should be part of the official recording. So if we can accomplish those things, that it's not too costly, it's not provide too many technical hurdles, I think the consensus among INP was we'd like to try to make that happen.
Okay, perfect. And then on who wants to speak from the operations side? Mr. Cass?
I had a couple of questions there.
Just make sure you push your button for.
Yeah, I had a couple items that came on my radar screen when I was going through all the agenda and all the supporting attachments there.
Hey, Mr. Cass, can we was this about public participation? Can we wrap that conversation up first?
Now,
And
it's
then we'll
about the
come back?
mentor novice program.
Oh, okay. We'll come right back to you, I promise. Mr. Kim, did you want to just talk about the?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, or unless Venu, you wanted to summarize what was said during the meeting.
Yeah, in general, what Dino said, we also agree that type of presentation in a forum where we can record it and they can speak. That's an important one. The other part that we wanted to go into was to get an input from NJSBA, see what other boards are doing. Are they trying to expand, to see if we can get other inputs that we can add on before we can make a decision.
I did send an email to Charlene Peterson asking those specific questions. She got back to me saying that it's going to take a little bit of time for her to find out the answers. And it was basically who's doing it, are other districts doing it, and how are they doing it? So we're waiting to hear back from her. That's one thing. And in your folder under P's and R's, if you click on the P's and R's doc, it'll take you to our existing policy on public participation, which we would have to alter.
Yeah, and if I may add as well, I think the committee felt that it was an important thing that needed to be discussed. I do think that with our new normal and with participation from the public extending to those not in the chambers, it was something that the committee felt that should be addressed. I personally felt, and I believe Don felt this as well, and Vinu may agree as well, is that this is maybe something we cannot figure out overnight. I think this is a sort of a long process that has a lot of legal issues and a lot of challenges that, I think Dr. Forte mentioned during our meetings as well. I mean, you gave it a lot of thought, as you said, and there's certainly definitely issues that might come about as a result of this. So I believe this is something that has to be vetted. I believe that this is something that could be discussed during the NJSBA workshop in Atlantic City. Actually, there's a link in my minutes, in our finance and ops minutes, that directs it directs board members to the exact session that we could participate in. It's going to be hosted and sponsored by a Levinson Lawyer Group or something like that. So I plan on attending and asking some questions there. I think this is also an example of how Denville is always in the forefront, trying to ask the hard questions and try to figure it out because it is beneficial for the public. And Laura, Ms. Wagner, I agree. Their voices should be heard, right? I mean, we can't suddenly just turn it off. But on the flip side, I do understand the administration's concerns and some of the challenges that may spawn from technology and things that happen today. So I do think that over time we will come up with a solution, and it should be something that we can sort of pave the way for other districts to maybe follow or even challenge us and comment on as well. So.
Yeah, actually, James said something that triggered me to remember something too. In the committee, it also came up is that we have the strategic plan coming up, and this may be a question that we ask the public: is how important is it to you that you get access? You can ask virtually and you can participate in meetings. We could take some direction from the community on that and see if there's a need for it if they really feel. Because I do agree with James. I mean, I do think we should take our time, make sure we get it right. There's no need to rush. I think school boards will be a good research avenue for us. But yeah, maybe we see what the community thinks. If there's really no interest in being able to talk to us virtually from the committee, from the community, maybe that's part of the answer.
Yeah, I think all of that is a really good point, and I appreciate the discussion that all the committees had. I think the feedback will be that there's going to be people that want to interact with us, and I appreciate it, and I'm glad that Mrs. Wagner brought this up because I think it's important that we try to find a solution. I think what's going to happen is school boards is not going to give us much direction. That's my guess. It's very cutting edge, and usually when it comes to cutting edge stuff, the school board association is not always they're not going to want to make a decision or a recommendation one way or another. They might point you to some districts that are doing it and say, hey, open up that conversation, which would be good. Maybe that'll give us some idea of somebody to talk to. And see what their conversation was, if any, right? They may have had a lot of conversation, they may not have. I think we're probably going to have to make a decision one way or another as to which way we want to go. And I think as long as it's well thought out and calculated, I think it'll be a good decision. So I think we've gone in a few different directions since we've talked, gone down the virtual route, right? And I think the most important thing to me is the path we choose, that it's well thought out, well planned, it's sustainable for the future as far as we can see. And that's going to, as fast as technology changes, which will be pretty quick, but at least it's not something that we're going to struggle with or have difficulties with or can't deliver on. I think I want to make sure that something we deliver is something that we can, be very confident that's going to work every time. So this is where I think you want to add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say for anybody that's watching this either live or the video, and just catching today's conversation, just to be clear that right now, there was virtual call-in access when we were meeting fully virtual, but since then that has been turned off, but there's still many avenues to access the board and the administration through email, which is all listed on our website. We're all involved in the schools. You can contact us there. You have the email to the administration as well. So this is not certainly the only avenue to access the board. It's just we're trying to improve upon it.
To make sure that this stays in the forefront, are you okay with a committee of, say, 2 board members, one from each committee, Damaris, myself, and Cindy Costanza, just to keep this thing going so that we can maybe write something up into that policy? And how you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think it's a good idea. Are there any volunteers that want to raise their hand for it? Vino? Okay. Do you know Vino? Laura, do you want to do it? I guess my point, guys, on the comment about I don't know what we're going to get out of waiting for the strategic plan. I'm going to be honest with you. Because I think that you're going to get people that are going to say, yeah, of course I want to interact with you. I think the challenge is that, and I don't think that anybody in the public's going to be like, no, don't give me that. Why would they, right? They're not going to say, don't give me access to that. The challenge is trying to find a way that we do it that we're all comfortable. That's it. So to me, it's not a matter of, I don't really think personally, as one of 7, I don't look at it as a if, it's a how. Like, we just got to figure out how to get there. So to me, that's more, and maybe good point, Mr. Kim. Like, you probably saw me searching on the on the New Jersey School Board conference to see if there was any options on meetings on stuff. So we'll see what information we can hold back from there. That's only like a month and a half out, but I personally would like to roll this out before the end of the year if possible. So I think it's feasible.
I think before this committee meets, whoever it might be on the committee, I think our committee had brought up 2 questions for Steve to research and find out answers to. And I think those would be helpful before the committee meets. And they were the feasibility, talking to Cindy and the IT department about the feasibility rate and the legal aspect of it. So Steve wanted the direction from the full board before he asked those questions.
What I'd like to do is put this committee together first, come up with a draft of what we want to do so that it's not just me doing it. Then putting it back out to everybody to review one more time. And then from there, we bring it to our attorney and the school boards to see if it's, I don't know, there could be some legality to like requiring a camera. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not sure. So we'd like to have that go through them. After, the way I envision this is this group, which would be Vino and Dino. Vinu and Dina. Yeah.
Hang on one second. And I offer this to you because you felt kind of strongly about this from the beginning. I'm happy to do it. It's up to you. I really leave it to you if you want to, it'd be kind of your legacy if you kind of, heading out the door. Now it's really your call.
The Laura Wagner policy.
Exactly. The Laura Wagner. No, really. If you.
Vinu and Laura.
So I'm switching it out. Okay.
Yes. Dino's really good at volunteering and then figuring out a way to get out of it really fast.
Yes, I've made a career out of that.
So the way I envision this would be that myself, the 2 board members, Damaris and Cindy, would get on a call soon within the next 2 weeks, sometime this week or next week. Damaris is going to be the chair. She loves that. And then we'll include in that, we'll have a Google Meet link. We'll have that policy. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what's the wording we want to change in it. And then from there, we'll see if it's okay. We'll make sure we run it by the board first too.
Sounds good. Awesome. I had 2 other quick things to mention. I'll open it up, and I held you off, Mr. Cass, so you're on. The floor is yours, sir. No. You first, please.
Right. I noticed the mentor novice program, which sounds like a great idea to help out the newer teachers get acclimatized and help them along. It's 120 minutes. And I was wondering, where and when they would do that, because I know they have a very busy workday, including prep time, besides being in the classroom for the mentors, and the impact of the work days. And also, would this be an unfunded mandate? I mean, they're getting some extra money for this.
So this is the same mentor plan that we've had for a number of years now, but they do get, so the official mentors, to get your standard license, you have to be mentored for a minimum of 30 weeks. So the mentees, the novice teachers actually pay. It's $27.50 per pay period. And then the mentors get paid $27.50. So it really just circulates through our accounting system. And then if they complete our program, which is they're required to do the 4 weeks of learning the evaluation system. So it's really a detailed training on what we're looking for in our Danielson evaluations. And then we also have other weekly meetings, like on how to have parent conferences, how to do telephone conferences, a lot of different things that happen throughout the year. If they complete that and we rehire them, then we reimburse them their $550. So for this year, so last year we had 17 new people. 3 of them completed all of and were returned because most of the new staff were leave replacements. But 3 of them were tenure track and returned to us this year. So they were reimbursed their $550. So they do this after school. They meet once a week at the beginning of the first month. And then after that, they meet 1 meeting per month throughout the year. But with their mentors, they have to meet with them at least 1 time per week. But most of them meet like every day because they are like on the same team. They have common prep times. But this is towards their standard certificate. So even those that are not on our tenure track, we do include them, even if they're a leave replacement, we do include them in our program.
All right, thank you. I was concerned about the course because if you recall, I think the legislature and the governor passed a number of years ago additional in-class training for students that were, majoring in education and were going to be teachers at schools, but they upped the credits you need for student teaching. And
They did.
which is, again, to me, could be painful for some students, who, especially when you look at the loans that some of these kids have to take out today just to get through college. So but that sounds like it's a reasonable process there with the reimbursement.
And the state has rolled back some of the requirements. So it used to be a whole EdTap, it was called, video portfolio that they had to make, and they had to do this for 2 years. And they've rolled that back so they don't have to do the whole portfolio, and they've reduced it to 1 year. So they're trying to make it a little bit easier for the student teachers. When they do get their first job, they do have to be in the provisional for 2 years.
Okay, thank you for that information. I wasn't aware of that part.
Yeah, that's just happened this summer, like.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't
August,
see it, but I
think.
did remember
I think
reading about
August they
the,
rolled it back because, again, we're trying to keep our teachers and get our teachers to finish their university programs and get to us as soon as possible.
okay, I had two more items real quick. The QSAC scores, they were very good. We were at 100%, except for instruction and programming, and that was 89%. And so was the county, coincidental.
Yeah.
So that was, so would that be like an objective as part of our goal setting to get that up to where the other scores were? And I guess you'd have the variable, so is why we were at 89 and not commensurate with some of the other scores that we had.
So 89% was the highest score that we could receive because it's based on test scores from 1819. So based on our 1819 NJSLA scores, that was where we placed. So there isn't any work that we could do besides our goals of raising achievement for sure. And that is always one of our goals. But that's where the more our achievement goes up, then the more points we're going to get. So, but we got all the points we could, as far as that weren't tied to student test scores.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad score. I mean, we're equal with the government, but I know we look at some of these statistics, comparing ourselves to other school districts, we're usually a little bit better or a lot better, depending on which district we're being compared to. So that's the highest score we could get. Nothing you can do about that. Yeah, the last thing
We're
I
going to
had.
work at it. We're going to get that achievement up. But this
Okay.
was back from 1819, and it's kind of like old data, and we've done a lot in 3 years. So I'm anxious to see how we do this time.
You look at the other things too, it's excellent results. All right, the last thing I had was, not for you, Dr. Carlos, but everybody, and maybe I missed it too, that we've had a lot of correspondence going around about the healthcare costs going up. So I don't think we passed a resolution, or was I sleeping if we did it?
Damaris mentioned it, I think, in her comments. Did you just want to update again?
There will be a meeting September 17 from the Division of Pension and the state, at which time they will be announcing the new increases for 2023 calendar year for the health insurance.
But we don't know
We
if
do not
they,
have the rates as of right now.
we don't have a percentage. Do we know for sure they're going to go up?
They're estimating anywhere between 15% and higher.
So would it behoove us to do a resolution before they have that meeting? Or
There's
concurrent, I
no-
mean, we're
there's
almost.
nothing to approve at this time. We do not have
We
any
did, yeah,
information.
Don, we did a resolution, I think, last meeting, just sending it to the legislature, stating that we were kind of,
Opposing.
unhappy with it. And yeah, so we did that. I don't
Okay.
think we received a response, but
Actually, we did.
I'm not holding my breath.
New Jersey School Board email back saying thank you for supporting this resolution.
Who was that from? I'm sorry.
New Jersey School Boards.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Cass. And Dr. Cullis, I think we used to not reimburse the mentee fee, right? Is that a change we made a few years ago where we felt it was important that the young teachers? Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I think three years ago.
Okay. Yep.
that
I
we did
remember.
Change it.
That was an addition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's even 4, but yeah, it's newer. It's not a huge expense for us, and we do ask a lot of them. We don't just say, come to our new teacher orientation for a day. We do give them a lot of support, these weekly meetings and these monthly meetings with our mentor coordinator. And I think it's worth having that incentive to go to all the meetings and then return to us.
Yeah, we thought it was important, I think, as a board, just to make sure that, even it was a small amount, they're coming here and if they're going to go through our program and get the mentoring, that we're happy to provide that reimbursement. So glad that we do it. Any other comments?
If I may, wanted to discuss a few things from the Finance Committee meetings, Finance and Ops. Two comments. First, the electric school bus grant, we discussed that during the meeting. Damaris did warn us that usually or typically those are awarded to districts of higher need. So just wanted to let the board know that that is a potential opportunity that we may not qualify for. However, I do want to still do the analysis. I know you and I had that email back and forth or a phone call. And so, from my perspective, and Damaris had sent me a spreadsheet, which I haven't gotten a chance to look at yet, but I personally do want to see if we can start replacing some of our school buses with electric school buses, if it makes financial sense too. The other thing, of course, is to congratulate Damaris on the grant and approving the grant. During the meeting, we talked briefly about the long-range facilities plan, and Damaris, forgive me, I think I missed that part when I called in. Could you just update the board? What's the delay for that again with regards to the long-range facilities plan?
There is no good explanation. It has been a delay on the professionals' side. However, they did promise that they will have a final report for us at the end of this month.
Oh, so the end of this month. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I guess the final thing I wanted to mention from the minutes is that as a result of the budget to actual reports, I think for the last fiscal year, we're going to be putting into, and these are estimates, we're going to be putting into reserves about 1.36 million, of which 845,000 is just simply over budgeting on capital and maintenance reserve projects. So that's taking up basically a huge chunk. It was already in reserves and we're just going to put it back into reserves. And so the only thing that we're probably going to be depositing for the last fiscal year into reserves from the operating budget is about $500,000. So 518,000 roughly, of which Damaris pointed out before today's meeting that a lot of it is probably due to grants that she was able to get. So I want to thank Damaris and the rest of the administration for working with me and the rest of the board in really trying to whittle that down. I think this is a great example of how, as nervous as Damaris was, because she did communicate that as well. This was, we made some progress, and I think that, I think that's what I personally wanted and the rest of the board wanted in terms of, trying to not inflate the reserve accounts too much. So, and so if these numbers hold true, and we'll know from the audit in, I guess, November, right, or December.
I'm working with the auditors right now. They're not 100% complete with the report, but I'm estimating at the end of October.
Great. So yeah, we'll get confirmation on that, but I wanted to give her some, as well as the rest of the administration, for some thanks for working with me and the rest of the board. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Anybody else? I had two quick comments. Dr. Forte mentioned it in his comments to convocation. Just a thank you to you, Dr. Forte, and the rest of the administration, Dr. Cullis, Mrs. Growski, a lot of work that went in to get that set up, and it was phenomenal. So I think it was a great way to start the school year. The speaker was phenomenal. The staff seemed really excited. The giveaways and gift cards, I think the staff appreciated it. I appreciate all the donations we received. Just a well put together kind of kickoff to the year, and appreciate the work that was put into it. So thank you. And then just actually another thing Dr. Forte mentioned, just a reminder, the Denville Education Foundation is not doing a golf outing this fall as they have in the past. They're going to be doing a different fundraising event. First of all, they're going to kick off with this Friday an outdoor movie night on Gardner Field 1. It's free to anybody who wants to come. I think it's Sing 2 they're playing. There's going to be concessions, food, water, soda, Gatorade, things like that to buy, popcorn. So anybody who wants to come is welcome to come. Please get the word out for them. And then they will be doing a raffle type fundraiser probably after the first of the year, and then concluding with a kind of spring fling kind of ticket pulling event later in probably the April timeframe. So I'll get you more information as that comes about, but just wanted to remind everybody that unfortunately no golf outing that we usually like to enjoy to go to, but they look forward to hopefully getting a bigger catchment of folks getting involved in the foundation moving forward. So that's all I had. Anybody have any other comments?
Just, I'm not sure if we did it already. I apologize. Can we review the back to school notes? Because I know some are this week, some are soon.
Yes, this Wednesday and Thursday is Riverview and Valley View. Next week on the 21st is Lakeview. 6:30 start for River and Valley. 6 p.m. start for Dr. Collis's presentation on Title I at Lakeview next week.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments? Last call? All right. Seeing none, I'll move on to the agenda for our second open public comment section. I'll open up at 8:22 p.m. Once again, we don't have anybody in person, so I will avoid reading the introduction to the section. Since we have no one in public, I will close our second open public comment section at 8:22 p.m. Do we have any need for executive session, Dr. Forte?
Yes, we do.
What's the purpose?
Student matters and legal.
Be new. Would you mind moving us into executive session? Student matters, and what was the other one, Steve?
Legal.
There's no objection. I'd like to just read, right? To move to convene executive session in accordance with the Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed section will be to discuss legal and student matters. Minutes of this session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Capello and Dr. Hassan. Actually, let's take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? None. Any abstentions? None. We are in executive session as of 8:23 p.m.